Hello everyone, and I hope you guys are doing well and studies are going in full swing. Today's video is for all our CA intermediate students who are appearing for September 25 and who are about to start their preparation for their first paper, that is advanced accounting. So in today's video, I'm going to run through the ideal study plan that you should be following for your pre-exam preparation. So a lot of questions like how many days should we allot for advanced accounting, what is the sequence to be done, should we do all the chapters together and all the ASs together, etc. We will try to cover everything in this video. So keep listening to the end and get clarity about what you need to do. Now, ideally, I would suggest first of all that you allocate 5 days for your advanced accounting. So let us say if your paper is on 4th of September, let us keep that day as a buffer. So 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 31st and 30th. So ideally 30th August is the date when you start your preparation. If you can start it earlier, well and good. Even if you are running tight on your schedule and you can do it a little late, maybe halfway through on 30th or latest by 31st, but I would strongly recommend you start it on 31st because this is your first paper and in my opinion the most scoring paper. There have been so many students who have scored not just exemption but a lot more, and you also can do that if you just allocate enough time. You don't want to leave stuff, you want to do it properly, and hence I would say that 5 days is an ideal amount of time that you should be allocating for your advanced accounting. So that is the time period. More than 5 best. If you are running short, then at the least 4 days is what I would recommend. Second, how do we solve for this? Because a lot of big chapters make us a little nervous. We don't know how to go ahead. So what I would say is ideally we will start with a slightly more, so above the red line that I have kind of put as a divider is the chapters, and below the red line are the accounting standards. I would want you to split it into 2 parts, preferably in the morning when you're relatively fresh, finish the chapters, and then in the second half quickly follow on the AS. However, if you prefer doing the AS first, even that is fine. So approximately I've assumed that you are studying anywhere between 11-12 hours in a day. Again, that might appear to be a little high, but before your exam, don't worry, you will definitely catch up on that and do as much as possible. Again, the number of hours more the better, but the quality of what you put in is also equally important. So over here, approximately I would say 5 to 6 hours would go every day in your chapters, and the remaining around 5.5 to 6 hours again would go into the accounting standard. This is what we have tried. Now on the first day, so that you get into momentum, we are doing cash flow statement and we are doing internal reconstruction. These are relatively manageable chapters, especially internal reconstruction, and that will get you into the flow. Even within the standards, we are doing largely, other than inventory, revenue recognition, construction, government grant, segment reporting, all of these standards which will help you get into your rhythm quite well. On the second day, then we go into chapter like amalgamation, which is definitely an important question, and we have kept 5 hours for this. In this, you go through all the important sums that would have been marked, and you will also try to solve at least 2 questions, one on pooling of interest and one on the traditional acquisition or purchase method on pen and paper on your own, because these are big questions. So to kind of get that flow of how you are solving is very important. So at least 1 full question for amalgamation, so that you know the nodes, the placement, etc. is very, very helpful, and otherwise you will definitely refer the adjustments. Within the other topics we are looking at, so largely over here, other than segment reporting, we are looking at the topics in the first 10. Other than we have removed the simpler ASs like AS1, AS4, AS5, etc. We've kept it at the end because in case you have to push the pedal and do it faster, you can do those standards relatively well. These standards we want to dedicate enough time, so we are doing it on the first day. Later you are looking at largely the asset link standards, which is PP, intangibles and borrowing costs. Now to be honest, I've kept foreign exchange over here. However, if you prefer doing another asset link standard, which is impairment, you can do impairment over here instead of this day, and you can interchange foreign exchange and impairment. That is absolutely fine because impairment is also an asset link standard, so that is also workable. Now after you go ahead from there, you go to consolidation. Remember, consolidation is very, very process driven. You have your schedule 3 balance sheet, you have your notes, you have the working notes on goodwill, minorities, interest, etc. So do consolidation. Again, in consolidation, 2 sums you try to practice on pen and paper. One is on consolidated balance sheet and one is on consolidated profit and loss account. So ensure that you do these two problems on pen and paper. I've kept around slightly more, 5 to 5.5 hours for amalgamation consolidation. Along with that, you also pick up joint venture and associates, which is kind of an extension. Especially associate equity method of accounting is quite important. And then the important standards on leases and EPS. So I don't want to keep all the important stuff on the last day where you are in a bit of a stress and you want to rush through. So you want to do that when you have more time, and hence consolidation amalgamation is done somewhere in the middle. Now the remaining, on the fourth day, you have branch accounts and buyback is very scoring, so ensure that you kind of do those. There are two main methods in buyback. One is you are trying to do the entries for buyback, and second is finding the maximum amount that can be bought back, the three conditions. So ensure that you practice those sums, and you have branch accounting. Other than that, other important standards like that on income tax, investment accounts, employee benefit, and either impairment or foreign exchange, whatever you are taking over here. And then in the last day, we have kept schedule 3. Now over here I've written 2.5 hours, but having said that, if you are comfortable, you can even push this into slightly lesser. And again, if you have to if there's a backlog, this is something that you can glance through. If you see the financial statements and schedule 3 chapter, you can glance through the questions, the important adjustments, and proceed further. Other standards like AS1, AS4, AS5, AS18, 24, usually 25, 29, and framework, these are usually relatively faster to manage, and hence we have kept it on the last day. So if there is some shortage of time, you can push the pedal. In any case, you have the buffer. So other than that, the last two RTPs, if you can refer, nothing like it. Also try to review, go through. I'm not saying you solve. If you have done a mock paper earlier, great. Otherwise, just go through one of the recent exam papers. Let us say the last paper of May 25 or the earlier one, so that you are very comfortable with the format in terms of the MCQs, in terms of the questions. What I would strongly recommend is you start the paper with the question that you are most comfortable with. Don't start with amalgamation and consolidation typically. Then once you have done one question, maybe two questions, then you go into the MCQs, finish off all the MCQs, and then do the consolidation / amalgamation question. And then in the end, you keep the question where you were a little jittery, so that in case you are running short on time, or in case there is something, it's in any case the last question that you have kept. So this is how I would solve. In any case, the way of solving is entirely on you. As long as you complete the paper, give your best shot, and I'm sure you have prepared well, and you're going to get your results. So wish you all the very best. Good luck. Keep your confidence high, and I'm sure you are going to excel. Bye bye and take care.